What is your favorite part of the design process?
With MTBH and designing for clients, it's always fun to be able to create a space that they're going to call home. All those months of hard work and stress, it's a roller coaster, and then at the end to finally move in, it's incredible to be a part of that process.
Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome back to Talkin St Pete. I am your host. Before we dive into today's guest, I just want to give a big thank you to everyone who is listening, watching, subscribing, liking, sharing with your friends and family. Please continue to do that. If you haven't subscribed, please do that right now. As the show continues to grow, it's all happening because of you guys sharing with your awesome friends and family. As we've been growing organically, but we do have a sponsor for today's podcast. It's Bogdan Homes. It's my business. It's how we're funding this whole thing. So if you know anyone that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, please reach out. We're more than happy to help, and it's going to keep us this show continuing on and sharing all the great knowledge of the amazing community here in St. Pete. Today's guest is Lance Moore. I'm so excited to dive into this guy as he's an amazing artist and the director of MTBH Studios, which is one of the top custom builders here in St. Petersburg. They were recognized by Home Builders Digest as one of the top 10 custom home builders in St. Pete in 2019, and they continue to do amazing things. Lance, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, dude. I'm super excited. I'm glad that Dominique could set this up for us. She met you at the St. Pete Rising event. Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah,
they had a really good turnout for.
I unfortunately wasn't able to make it, but I heard it was packed. Intermezzo was
slammed.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
How many people do you think were there?
I wanted to guesstimate right around 100 or so, but we talked to the owner of Intermezzo a few weeks later, and he was like, "It was only like 60 people." And I was like, "No, there's no way. Maybe at one time, but over the whole night, there was probably like 150 people, I think, which is pretty good for."
Yeah, for a hangout of a blog that's just sharing amazing things in St. Petersburg. We're really excited. We're actually having them on the show here in a bit. But this is all about you. Tell us. MTBH Studios, you're the director of design there. What does that mean? Walk us through what's a day in the life look like for you at MTBH?
Yeah, so as the director of design at MTBH, I kind of oversee all things design oriented, as the title ensues. But it's really just client relations from the time that they walk into the door. I'm trying to understand what their purpose, of come to MTBH, what problems they're trying to solve. And then guide them through the process all the way through. So I take them through, there's 3 different phases of design, which is schematic, ST, DD, design development, and then CD, which is the actual construction document, phase. Then they enter into the construction contract, and then construction begins. But I don't leave the client at that time. My work actually, begins at that process because we have to go through all the selections, et cetera. And then I'm there all the way to when we turn over the keys for the CO.
Okay, so for those in layman's terms who've never built a home before, we come to you guys. We're looking to build a home, and I meet with you, and I say, Lance, this is my vision. Do you help me with the vision? Like, walk me through a little bit of the design process, because I think that's what people are going to be really interested in.
At MTBH, we have 3 different lines of homes or segments of homes now. So the owner of MTBH is Richard McGinnis. He founded the company over a decade ago, which was mostly just a custom home builder in the higher end homes. So we have that line. Then we have more of a mid-tier line, which is called the Right Homes, and then a line that maybe we'll get to talk about, which is the new Y Homes that we're currently launching. So when a client comes in, most of the time that, they're trying to fill out which segment they're going to fall into. Most of the clients coming are custom home builders. They have a lot that they've purchased, and they're trying to figure out what they can build. So whenever I sit and meet with them, they're handing me the lot, maybe a survey, and they just want to see what they can do and trying to fill us out. That's typically how the first meeting goes. So I quickly just try to crunch through the numbers as far as zoning, try to, fit their program that they're trying to meet, whether it's, 3-bedroom or if they want a guest house, et cetera, trying to cram all that into that meeting just so I know if they're a good fit or not for MTBH.
Got it. I got it. So what makes someone a good fit?
Well, we would love, for it to be their design, style that they desire. Modern Tampa Bay Homes has been known for their contemporary architecture. Richard was one of the first ones in the region to start building contemporary, more modern homes, but we also offer transitional, which is not quite traditional. It's somewhere in between. So, we try to fill out first which design styles they kind of fall into. Obviously, we love to work with anyone, but we try to figure out which way that they're heading, fill them out. We kind of obviously budget, is a factor in that, unfortunately. But especially in today's market with the way prices have, changed and the
cost of materials, everything else. Yeah, gets a little crazy. So, I mean, that's really cool because if no one has seen any of their designs or haven't heard of them, MTBH Studios, Google it right now and look at some of these homes because they're freaking awesome. I mean, the designs and everything are so cool. So I'm really fascinated in that process. I guess to get to that, let's walk back a little bit. How did you get to this role now? I see you went, did you go to school in Canada?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that's where you got your master's, right? And so walk us through, how do you become director of design?
Yeah, so it's a process. So first, obviously, is establishing the education or the knowledge. So as you mentioned, I got my master's from McGill University in Montreal. I lived there, had the opportunity to go to school there and lived there for 3 years.
What was that like?
It was incredible. It's an incredible city. Montreal is amazing. But being a Florida boy, it's very cold.
Yeah, so I know that's a big change,
it's
right?
a huge change.
Yeah.
But it was an incredible time. I met a bunch of incredible people. McGill is an English-speaking school, so it was an easy transition. It wasn't like I had to go out and learn French or forced to learn French. So there's two sides to that. But it opened my knowledge base up to different cultures as well. A lot of different students are coming internationally to that school. So it just gave me a great new perspective on both design and life. So
got it. So what made you pick that school? Are they known for architect? I mean, talk to me like a fifth grader. I know nothing.
Yeah, they are. So I got my bachelor's from University of Florida in architecture as well. And then I had to make a determination of where I wanted to go to grad school. So in architecture, if you want to become licensed, you have to go. Well, things have changed now. It's a little different. There's other avenues that you go. At the time when I got my degree, you could either do a professional degree or you had to go get your master's. I knew I wanted to be licensed. I'm not licensed yet. I'm still in that process. So I needed to pick a grad school. There was a bunch of different options. My professors at University of Florida, they were kind of encouraging me to look at McGill as an option. A couple of them, one of them in particular, had gotten their doctorate from McGill. The other one was looking to go get their doctorate from McGill. So they encouraged me. I looked at the school, was kind of blown away. I applied, I got in, and so I made that leap. They're known as far as their education is concerned. There's two main professors there, which is Alberto Perez Gomez, which in architecture, he's a theorist of architecture that you will study, throughout the education process. We have theory classes. A lot of the books that we study, he wrote. So
wow, that's really cool.
To McGill and actually take his courses all semesters while
you learn from the guy.
From the guy, which is pretty incredible. The other individual there, unfortunately, I didn't take his classes because he was on sabbatical, which is Avi Friedman, which is known for the father of affordable design, which is interesting because that's what I'm getting into now with Richard and custom home building
with the Y Homes project. Correct, yeah, yes. So I mean that's a good transition to that. Before we keep diving into your background, because I'm fascinated by people who have an artist mind, and I can tell from a quick look at your Instagram that you have a very artist mind. Yeah. So Y Homes project, we talked about it quickly before you came on the show. Run us through. I mean, that sounds like it's going to be something unique to make homes affordable for people who are doing house hacking, no?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, so what's that like? How do you design a home so that way it's house hackable?
Right, so it boils down to the floor plan. For those of you that don't know, house hacking is a way for individuals to rent out portions of their home to help alleviate or help some of the mortgage burden, which is great for the current climate that we're in with home prices and rising rental rates, etc. The issue with that, though, is most of the time you're reconverting or converting a house that wasn't designed from the beginning, for that matter. So a lot of times your spaces are either shared or you cross paths with that renter, and it kind of makes it kind of uncomfortable, or a lot of people kind of steer away or avoid those options as house hacking because it makes it uncomfortable.
Which I will say, as me being in the business,
Mm-hmm.
if you have the opportunity to house hack, you absolutely should. And
Yes.
definitely if you can do it with one of these designs, which I want to know how you're doing it. But we can't stress the importance enough. If you are buying a home and you can have someone come in and pay your mortgage or part of your mortgage for you, you are gaining equity in that house. That is such
Correct.
a great vehicle to grow wealth in and have someone else paying it for you and not have to worry about the tenant so much because you're there. You're monitoring your tenant, your
Right.
friend, whoever family member is helping you pay that bill the whole time. So I just want to touch on
What's
that.
interesting about that is a lot of, the individuals that we talk to about the idea, this is the first thing they bring up is I don't want to share my house with someone else. And
Yeah,
it's like, but you're willing to rent in an apartment where you share a whole building with 300 other people. So it's
point.
not far off.
Good point.
And so in doing so, you could either rent in an apartment or you can virtually, have your own home, rent, and be with one other person, but you're still gaining, like you're saying, that equity
Right.
through a home ownership.
So what does a floor plan, how do we design a floor plan that makes it seem as if I don't have someone living with me?
Yeah, so I guess the approach is Richard and I sat down. We knew we wanted to somehow have a prototype or a model that somewhat addressed affordability. But when approaching it in that way, we realized that we can't change, the price of soil. We can't change the price of the commodities that go into it, especially in the last couple of years when they skyrocket. So there's not much that we can control. There's a lot of outside factors. But we can control is their ability to hack it out or what they can do within that home. So that was the approach, is how can we create a floor plan that keeps or maintains the facade or that structural component, but allows the inhabitant to adjust the interior either through partitions or doors, so that it can evolve with the client over time. So what that means is if you're a young professional and a single individual, you can move into a home and then as you grow or your family grows, the home can evolve with you. So you can hack out portions of the home, and what's great about the floor plan is you can hack it in various different ways. It's not just set in one way, like one small room or something like that. You can actually go up and hack out a whole floor of your home or a bottom floor. You really have a lot of options or choices through our floor plans.
That's cool. Are any of them built and completed and being house hacked at the moment?
Well, we have 8 lots in South St. Pete.
Okay.
So currently we have one lot, which is on 13th Ave South, which is nearing completion. And then we have another lot that is being framed up now on 15th Ave South, which is 755 15th Ave South, and that one goes on the market. We're pre-selling that one today.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, so this will be out in 2 weeks. So we'll see if that. What was the address again?
755 15th Ave South. And then we're going to use 13th as kind of the staging, to kind of show the other options as well.
I'm glad you mentioned South St. Pete. Tell me what your thought. What's happening there? I mean, your lots, things. Real estate is a little bit cheaper down there.
It is
in terms of that. So what's the? Is that an area that you guys are targeting specifically?
Yeah, so I'm a big part of the lot acquisition within MTBH as well. So Richard and I study areas, within. It's not just St. Pete, it's St. Pete and Tampa as well. Different neighborhoods, and where we feel that market is kind of trending or maybe moving to. We try to, be right on the fringe markets, and so that, the area kind of grows into the home. Where our focus is not really, we could easily go out to, Riverview or somewhere else and buy up, a big swath of land and build a bunch of these homes. But that wasn't our intent. Our intent is Y Homes. It stems from originally was spelled WHI, Workforce Housing Initiative. But that's more used for government organizations and stuff like that. So from a branding perspective, we changed it to Y, the letter Y, which stands for the Generation Y, which is the 24 through 40-year-olds that are, coming into home ownership or the first-time home buyers. So we looked at where we could have infill lots, not necessarily buying up a bunch of, property and building on it. And why that was important is the proximity to the city center or the city core. So being in Bartlett Park and these areas in South St. Pete, that's still accessible to that city center where your workforce housing client particularly would want to live. So these are your individuals that are your bartenders, your servers, et cetera, and they want to be in proximity. They don't want to have to drive. So and they
healthcare industry with the hospitals right there.
Well, the hospitals, you have live-in nurses,
Yep.
et cetera. So it's a great opportunity. But we saw the opportunity to go after the workforce housing. One, these are individuals that are, most likely first-time home buyers, but want to be close to that city center and what, has been a part of that fabric that has made St. Pete unique. So we want to keep them close. That South St. Pete area just seems like a natural corridor or natural area for that growth to kind of flow into and for those potential buyers to be interested in. There, north near Old Northeast, all that area is kind of overpriced at this point. So that is kind of last frontier is to go south.
Subjective on the overpriced part. In terms of other neighborhoods, I would agree, but it's just it's the vibe that's there, the already established, the architecture of the older homes. I mean, it's all. I love everything that's happening because I love that there's new construction happening in areas, and we're bringing this vibe. And you said what makes St. Pete unique, and I'm curious from your perspective, not MTBH's perspective, but from Lance Moore's perspective, what makes you St. Pete unique to you?
To me, it is. What has always attracted me to St. Pete is their, I would call it their roots or their backbone has always been in the arts and that culture of being inclusive. And I think that stems from having the Dali Museum calling St. Pete home. Growing up, coming to the museum, seeing it moved into its new location, et cetera, et cetera.
Are you originally from here?
I'm not. I'm from Central Florida.
Okay.
But we, obviously frequent Tampa and St. Pete.
Yeah.
Looking back to, what St. Pete was and where it has come, I always tell friends, Tampa is kind of like that corporate, the business to go-getters, and then the St. Pete is that arts and culture. The more civic side that is open-minded and your thinkers, your artists, etc. And that's just kind of always called me. And so that's kind of where I've, fallen now, and I've, hopefully established roots here and can grow. But yeah, St. Pete in that, to me personally, has always been the arts.
It's something about crossing that bridge.
It really is.
It changes from the corporate to the art. I don't know why.
I hope, the city, still allows for that growth to happen. I think, with the Warehouse Arts District and stuff like that, there's a lot of outside interest in, what could, potentially be. And so I just hope that they allow for these artists to always have a home there and can continue to grow, and that always be a part of
I think
the
they
community.
Will. So. I think they will. I think with the cities has done a great job of keeping it local businesses, and that's what I mean. The show wouldn't be a thing if we didn't have so many local businesses to it, right? If it was just all the big corporations, so how fun would that be? There would be no story there, as we have now. And I think that's why St. Pete's amazing is that there's so many stories.
It's so true.
It draws so many people in, just like you. You're not originally from here, but Florida. But drawn here because of the art part that it has and the open-mindedness and everything else that's going on here. And, when you're surrounded by, back where I'm originally from Pennsylvania, Central PA, and we had this strip of road. Anyone who's from Central PA knows it, Carlisle Pike, and it's all your big box. Big box just everywhere. And that's really it. You got to really dive off into the suburbs to find a little local mom and pop. Where here, it's everywhere.
Right, which is incredible.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah, it's awesome. Right, you go in, you can meet the owner, you can talk to them, we get them on the show. We know what their story is. I love St. Pete so much. I met a guy yesterday. For those that watched Lindy's episode, I went to her sound bowl healing last night on Gulfport Beach, which was really cool, and met a guy who's like said, "Oh, I just moved back over here from Tampa." I said, "Well, welcome back," and he's like, "Well, this has all been the same to me, always." And I'm like, "Well, I have a show called Talkin St Pete, so I'm St. Pete, sorry." And so to me, they're far from the same. What I want to dive back into your design process because that's fascinating. And being an artist, we're talking about being open-minded, and I'm always fascinated. I could go to the Dali Museum every day and just pick out something different. What is your favorite part of the design process?
The creativity, one, but it's always the being able to. Okay, so from design in general, it's always fun to be creative, creating something new that hasn't existed. When I then superimpose that into my daily job with MTBH and designing for clients, it's always fun to be able to create a space that they're going to call home, and share those memories with their families for years to come. And seeing the joy on their face and helping them, allow that dream to become a built reality. So, taking something that never existed and giving it to them and allowing them to live in, and then getting that feedback from them of how it was when they moved in and how it's doing.
So it's the end process for you.
It really is. Yeah.
It's the finished product and seeing a satisfied customer.
All those months of hard work and stress, and a lot of them, they grow irritated with you over, through the process, and then they love you, and then they grow irritated with you.
So you got this.
It's an up and down. It's a roller coaster, and then at the end to finally move in, take over the home, and start that new chapter of their life. It's incredible to be a part of that process.
That's really cool. Where does the inspiration come from? Is that more from Richard, from you? Like, how do you guys stay up to the trends, or what's, because your designs are, I won't say timeless, but they're close to it.
They are,
and so where does that inspiration come from? Are we looking at things that are happening in different cities around the world? Just a taste of their own, how does that happen?
So in the end, it's Richard's company. That's his brand that I'm designing for. So there's a whole branding aspect of it, where he's gotten his name from over the last decade and what he's been able to build. It comes with a reputation. So some of those design elements are coming from that history that I need to always incorporate in each of our projects. But I always challenge Richard too. That's a part of why he, hired me. It was to challenge, to keep up, like you mentioned, with those trends, to question the process, and potentially evolve that into something new or a little bit different each project. But yeah, I think it's a balancing. It can't. It's not just me being able to design on my own and my own thoughts and process into every home. I'm still in the end working for MTBH, and that's his brand that I have to respect.
He has the branding, so that's part of the style.
Yeah,
and so but as you guys are building, how much are you paying attention to because I feel like things change pretty quickly in terms of design of what people like. Where does that come from? You flicking through magazines, you're looking through Pinterest, watching Home and Garden Channel, you know what I mean? Like help me understand.
Well, I think the clients come in that way.
Okay.
From my profession, how I'm trained, it comes a little bit more natural, innately. The way that I approach every project is context. The way that I lay out the home and the floor plan. I'm really big on datums and connections within that context and within that site. How are we framing views or aspects of the site to make it more unique? There's hidden gems or little elements in the house that you wouldn't really recognize or a normal person, but when you walk through, you're amazed, and then you don't really know why necessarily, but that's because it was planned that way with intent from the beginning. As far as the trends and stuff like that, trends come and go. So that's maybe goes back to what you mentioned as Richard's designs being timeless, and they are in many ways. I think we stick to the roots of bringing the outside in, so a lot of natural light, a lot of windows. So we just bathe the home with natural light, which is incredible. And then just really contemporary style. We have really minimal design palette when it comes to finishes. But I think I'm pushing Richard to get outside the box a little bit in that regards. So that will change. Trends change though, they come and go. So sometimes we have to educate the client, whereas they bring, magazines, they bring inspiration from house or whatever. Sometimes you have to guide them, even though they think that's what they want, that maybe they should lean a different way, because over time, depending on what they want to do with the house, it may be a better decision for them.
When you said that, for some reason, I'm probably going to butcher the quote. But how did Steve Jobs say it? That we're going to sell them something that they didn't even know they wanted.
Correct. Yeah.
And it sounds like that's what you guys.
And it is, and that's an uphill battle, because a lot of times, and especially in the custom home building side, they have a very strict idea of what they think they want, and so trying to teach them and trying to guide them that some of the decisions we're making may not be exactly what you thought you were going to get, but once you move in, I think you'll understand.
Right.
The way that the home lives is much different than potentially what you thought it should look like.
I love that you touched on trends and how they come and go, because it's definitely not something how you build something timeless.
No,
and the natural light and probably more natural materials, things like that definitely just hang out and stick around for a while. What's the hardest part of the design process for you? Like where you're like, man, like this is a struggle. I feel like every artist, there's got to be some part through the process.
Yeah, I think we touched on it a little bit in the last iteration, but it's trying to get clients to come.
So it's that part.
It's the client relation. I mean, you're building a trust with them. This is a big purchase for them. It's a big milestone within their life. A lot of times, this is the largest purchase that individuals or couples will make in their lifetime,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And a lot of them, when they're coming to build a custom home, most of the time this is going to be the forever home as well. So those decisions are very important to them. So it's just getting through that process of trying to, one, marriage what they desire to have and what we think they may want, or how it will live later. I think it's very difficult. A lot of people have, a very particular way of thinking when it comes to design. And I think that, they're dictated a lot by what you see on social media, et cetera. And they're reminded about that every day, but it may not be the best decision. So it's educating the client, I guess.
That is tough, especially when it comes to people's home, because they think they have it a certain way.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's hard for them to make that decision. They're indecisive. As much as they think they know what they want, they don't really. And when it comes down to, hey, you have to pick A or B, it's a hard decision for them.
It is. How is designing homes in St. Pete different? Because if I'm looking at your background here, it looks like you've done some work in other countries.
I have, yes. Yeah.
And right to name Canada, China, Bahamas, Mexico, Jamaica, and Dominican and France.
Correct.
You have homes that you've helped design that are built in these countries right now?
I have. Well, those are all hospitality projects.
Okay.
So they're more resort based. With a company I was with. I'll go through. There was one other home I built, which is in Cancun. I designed for a client there.
That's really cool.
Which is pretty amazing. The other projects that you mentioned was with a company, two companies that were mostly in the hospitality market. So I've been really blessed with the ability to kind of have a little bit of experience in each of those markets. So I started in hospitality. I had a brief stint in more higher industrial healthcare, and then into residential. So I've been able to have a really broad understanding of design within each of those markets and contexts, and able to now bring that knowledge back into residential, which has always been somewhat my passion. So I'm glad I'm finally here. But it was a great learning process. With those companies, it was mainly resorts. So within those resorts, there's bars, nightclubs, restaurants. So it's really fast paced, a lot of fun. But yes, each of those projects are in those locations.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, your background is really cool. I can tell you're definitely passionate about what you do. What do you think St. Pete's missing? I mean, how you're down here hanging out, working, doing everything. Like, what do you think St. Pete's missing?
Well, in residential side, we always talk about it as the missing middle. And we're trying to help solve that a little bit through house hacking, maybe more so in the ability to try to help the city more broadly accept and allow ADUs and stuff like that. That's a first step, but
which they are doing.
They are,
yep.
And they have already, allowed certain corridors and stuff like that we could do it within. But we need more broad, missing middle, different typology of homes that haven't really been implemented, especially in Florida, more broader. As a city, still on the arts and I guess design side, would just be I guess Tampa's doing it a little bit with Water Street, is trying to bring in some significant architecture. I guess we have the pier now. These outside elements as an architect are important. I think it starts bringing in those outside eyes. St. Pete's kind of been overlooked in Tampa region, for years now. I think we're finally getting we're
on the map.
We're here. We're here. People are noticing us, and I think it's a great turning point for St. Pete in the Tampa Bay region.
Lance, I gotta ask you.
Yes.
As we're in this space, everything going on, what do you think's happening with the Rays development?
It's very interesting. There's a lot of controversy right now involved around what is happening. But I think, it's smart first to zoom back more broadly. about the whole process, and maybe we can even bring in what happened with the pier. And some concerns I have maybe for St. Pete moving forward in those RFP scenarios. First of all, I think anything happening on that 86 acres is going to be great for St. Pete. It's needed, especially with the new discussion. Trying to zero in the workforce housing, all that. Anything that happens there is going to be great for the city, and I'm really excited about that. My concern comes from is just the RFP process that happened with the pier. We have amazing architects that were interested in the pier. They come in.
For those who aren't familiar, what is the RFP process?
Request for proposal. So it's looking for outside qualified, businesses, usually architects or designers. It could be, in this case, developers that are request for bid. They're submitting a proposal for an upcoming project. They usually narrow that down to 3 or 4. And then
and for the Rays Stadium, I'm pretty sure there was like 4 or 5.
There was,
Yeah.
and in both scenarios,
Yeah.
the first one was whittled down to 3. Yep. That same individual, that group, was in on this one as well. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's concerning because they did that again. Obviously, that was under a different mayor, so maybe the new mayor wanted his opportunity to weigh in, and then I think that's what happened. Sometimes there's good and bad, involved in that. I think what may happen in the future is if, outside parties, it's a big investment for these firms to do these RFPs. I remember when I was at AECOM, there was this big bridge that was being built over downtown. And I mean, that segment of the firm was working on that proposal over 5 years, 6 years, and in the end they lost. So it's a big investment. So if we keep throwing these out, we're going to deter, these bigger firms to even be interested in submitting a proposal.
Could put them out of business.
It really could. Yeah. If they're investing that much time and stuff like that. Because a lot of these larger corporations, although, those firms may have it built in, they're usually partnering with local firms. And those local firms sometimes have to spend all their time on those proposals, right? So now zooming in, more closely, I think it's very interesting how they chose the Hines and the Rays in order, to do this. I think their proposal was really good. I think it was probably, one of the 2 top ones that were submitted.
Did you read all of them?
I did. I went through every single one and looked who was on all their teams and everything. I think it's interesting that they chose them, and then Brian Auld came back and said, we may not even be here.
Yeah. So what does that even mean? For the city, like how are you going to tease us like that? Say, yeah, you know what? If we decide to do it, this is who's going to do it, but we're not going to commit.
I know.
Well, let's go. Let's say what's happening,
and we're going to find out really quick too, because they're supposed to, within phase 1, it's supposed to be the construction of the stadium. So so if they don't even know, but they're committed, so. I don't know. I think it was kind of a play on the city's part in a way, calling their bluff to say, okay, you're forming a team. We're going to go ahead and give it to you. Kind of like you almost have to be here, because they didn't even within their proposal show what would happen if they weren't here.
Right.
My concern within the proposal directed towards the Rays, though, was the design of the stadium. Out of all the designs that we saw between the first, proposals and the second set of proposals, was lacking of all of them. So I think hopefully that, Populous is the design architect on the actual stadium itself. They do incredible work. Hopefully that was just an iteration and that it will change. But I think they kind of, fell short on that.
For those that are maybe a little behind or not from here, we have a whole thing with Tropicana Field getting revamped for the Rays, an 86-acre proposal that was just selected on at the end of January. And there's always been this discussion of should the Tampa Bay Rays be in St. Pete or should they be in Tampa? And now we have all the plans laid out in front of us that's all pretty, looks really nice, that, okay, this stadium's going to be built here in St. Pete with all these housing projects and commercial divisions, all this stuff. But the commitment from the Rays, if I'm right, is not there yet to say we're going to stay in St. Pete, whereas we could go to Tampa. But to where? Is there, and as far as I'm not paying attention to what's happening on the other side of this bridge as much as I probably should. To your knowledge, is there any proposal plan of anything to build a stadium on the other side?
There's one that's been lingering around. I forgot his name, but the owner of Blue Pearl, the Veteran Hospitals, he went in and bought up one of the last projects in Tampa Bay, right on the outskirts of Ybor, so just north of Channelside. And he was trying to get the Rays in there, but he's since they kind of rejected that offer, he's already created a whole nother development proposal for that area, and it kind of
So do we think
stems
it's a
down and
bluff?
connects to.
You think it's just like there's one person who's just not they're just not committing? I mean, from the sports,
Rays, I think they had some issues. I don't know everything. I'm assuming
the Tampa
they
people
had some issues with what happened when they thought about splitting the team with Montreal, because the Expos are no longer there. Right. So Montreal wanted the team back, and so there was some behind the scenes work going on, and I don't think each party within the Rays ownership knew about what was happening, or the board didn't approve of that. So now I'm wondering if he just doesn't want to commit because he's afraid of backlash from the board. I don't really know.
There's a lot of speculation, right? What's going on? It's fun.
I think the city's calling their bluff by just saying, "Here, we're giving it to you. Now you have to make a choice." And
right, like here it is.
You didn't give us any other choice within the proposal without the stadium, so you have to make it happen at this time. Or they may have caught wind of they're looking elsewhere, and so they want them to stay, and so they just gave it to them. I'm not really sure. So
okay, so that brings up a point. And then, since you read through all the proposals and you said it was good, would that be the one that you would have chosen?
It would have been the second. No, there was another one. The same group that they originally awarded to their reproposal. And they also, in both scenarios, offered an option if the Rays wasn't involved. So I think they had a little bit better proposal. Their architecture firm was Gensler. I like that firm a little bit better. But it's still a really great proposal. A lot of the stuff that they're proposing, hopefully it comes true. I think another concern of St. Pete and the community, the greater community, should be how it's going to be funded. Where the financing, and kind of read through the numbers and really understand what those financing structures mean. I think the Rays have had some issues with attendance. They're the third lowest attended ball team for quite a few years now. They can barely, right now that means that they're only averaging about 13,000 per game, which is nothing.
Yeah.
But another team, to take for example, would be the Marlins. They're second to the last in attendance, yet they just got a stadium a few years ago. So if the community wants to go out and see what happened with that stadium and how it was funded and who actually paid for it, I think those should be more of concern, from the community than anything.
Right.
So that, we're not footing that tax bill
right.
In order to help someone else.
As you're saying all this,
parties.
I'm like, who do we need to get on the show to have this conversation about that knows more?
So that knows a lot more about what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, because the people want to know. The people want to know.
Really do.
In the comments, if you can think, or someone knows, who do we need to get on here to figure this out? The mystery of the Rays. Do they stay or do they go? Dude, you from doing your education in Canada, helping these world projects and everything like that, you've had to come across some interesting knowledge and information. Are you a reader?
I read, not as much as I used to read more.
You got any books you would recommend?
I thought about that. There is one. It's going to be somewhat controversial, but Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules.
Dude, I don't know. So it's a great book.
It is.
He's coming to Tampa here soon.
Really?
Yeah, he's coming.
Okay.
He's gonna. I saw him last year.
Okay.
And he was at the Mahaffey. I can never pronounce it. Mahaffey Theater.
Yeah.
And now he's at the Amali.
Okay.
Filling that bad boy up. Yeah.
That's incredible.
So yeah, I think that's in March. We got a couple people going over there. But no, that's a great book.
It is.
Yeah.
I think one of his rules, which I think is really interesting, is don't always assume that you know more than the person talking, or that you don't know something that he doesn't, or that you don't, right? So a lot of times we get into situations you can learn from everyone, no matter their background or where they're from or where you're from. Yeah, everyone has a different perspective.
100%. A big thing that I teach the team all the time, she's laughing because she knows where I'm going with this, is I'm a big, The Four Agreements is a book that I tell everyone to read. Have you read it?
No, I haven't.
Okay,
no, I need to.
We'll have to can we make a note? We're sending them a copy. And the first agreement is don't make assumptions.
Right, yeah.
To that point of I mean, just overall for everything, don't make assumptions over anything. Don't make assumptions, be impeccable with your words, don't take anything personally, and always do your best.
That's incredible.
You live by those four things.
Especially the one, don't take everything, personally. That's huge, especially in today, with social media and everything else. Everyone is a little too, I don't know, responsive to, like they take everything personal, and it really shouldn't be.
No, nothing's personal.
No.
Nothing's personal. It's always what's going on inside. And then more reason why I love St. Pete, I'm making a weird U-turn today to get this parking spot. And as I'm doing it, I kind of cut some people off that were about to cross the street. They weren't. Right. It's not like I was about to hit them. But I feel like up north or where I'm from, I was ready for them to be like, what are you doing? And they just smiled and waved and they like knew what I was doing. It was like such a peaceful thing this morning. I was like, that's why I freaking love this city, man. Everyone's just always about it. I got to go back to that because St. Pete just makes me so happy. What else are you doing in your free time, man? So I mean, it sounds like you're so passionate about work. I can see that, right? But yes. I mean, it comes to hanging out. Like, what are some hobbies you got going on?
I love to golf.
Nice.
So
you got a favorite course?
No, not in Tampa. I do not. No.
Okay.
I would love to play Stream Song. That's a goal of mine.
Yeah.
I played Palmacia a couple times. I love that course. It's small. But no, I love playing golf.
Yeah.
It's a good escape.
It's amazing.
Get out on the golf course and just forget about it.
Yeah, be out there in nature, hanging out. We're in Florida. What a better place to do it, you know? Decompress. This is the best time a year to do all that. What are some of your favorite places to eat since you're a little bit of a foodie?
Yes. So I watched some of your other podcasts, and it's funny because there's some similarities. Number one, Wild Child.
I love that.
I love Wild Child. And number two would be Linger.
I love that spot.
Number three would be El Retorno.
I haven't been there.
And then
tell me about that.
In the fourth one.
Yeah, go.
The fourth one would be Craft Cafe.
Dude, love that. Yeah.
I'm gluten intolerant, so there's been a godsend as far as getting pastries in the morning and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, El Retorno. So it's an Italian restaurant off of Central.
Okay.
Right across from where they're building 400 Central.
Oh yeah. I've walked past it. It's right by my office.
It's really good.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah, favorite dish there? Something you recommend?
It's there is. I don't remember the name of it, but it's a type of ravioli.
Okay.
It's very difficult being gluten intolerant to find places that cater to a pasta or something like that.
Sure.
Options for gluten intolerant. So.
Yeah. Okay. Rotorno. Yeah. That's a hop, skipping away. So I gotta check that spot out. How can we connect with you? Specifically, if we wanted to get in touch with you, what's the best way to get in touch?
Personal? Well, I have Instagram and then email as well.
Yeah.
My personal Instagram is at Mr. Cotain. So that's MrCotain.
Okay. Maybe the guys, we can put that in the bottom here. Yeah.
Obviously, shout out to MTBH Studios. Follow us, share,
do all the things. Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously email. I would email Lance at mtbhstudios.com. And you can reach me there.
Perfect. Folks, if you need someone to design your home, this guy is definitely the man. And you need to go check out their website, mtbhstudios.com, right? Because the designs there are freaking awesome. Lance, thanks for coming on, man. Really, appreciate you. It was a lot of fun, and we'll see you here on the next one.